3,000 deaths due to COVID just last week, 3,000 people who followed the rules and grieved today. So will the paymaster, including my mother-in-law who died alone, will the Paymaster General confirm that there will be a full and complete disclosure to enable the police service to ascertain that all was done decently and within the regulations at the date and at that time? I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker.
We put that clip of Jim Shannon MP at the top of this week's episode because we think it makes the point very strongly that the decisions him and his colleagues were making in 2020-21 and the powers that they arbitrarily awarded themselves over the rest of us have had and continue to have devastating consequences for families up and down this country. He's talking there about the death of his mother-in-law who died alone. Lots of families were placed in that horrendous situation by the decisions that were made in Westminster. And the decision to approve the products that are known as COVID vaccines and to then deploy the coercive powers of the state to promote them and in some cases to mandate them on members of the public, well, that's a decision that has had arguably far-reaching consequences for many people as well. And that's why we feel justified in asking those members of Parliament who are over the age of 65 whether they're still having these products. Yes, the decision on whether to have a vaccine is a personal one. Yes, ordinarily we would say it's none of anybody else's business. But when you have that kind of power over everybody else, then if you have, for whatever reason, changed your mind about whether these products are right for you, well, then we feel that goes from being a personal decision to being a matter of public interest. And we don't think that if these MPs who are over the age of 65 have changed their mind, we don't think they should necessarily get to be quiet about that, because the government of which they are a part, or to which they are the opposition, is still telling people they should be getting these products. Jim Shannon then, one of the 5 MPs we've written to for this episode, episode 4. He's a member of Parliament from Northern Ireland. He represents the Democratic Unionist Party. He voted no in the Vaccine Pass Bill in December 2021. On the other hand, though, here's a tweet from November 2021, just a month before that, when he was happy to state publicly that he was getting a booster. So we just wondered if he's still getting boosters and whether he's happy to talk about it publicly now. Jim Allister, he's also an MP from Northern Ireland. He represents traditional Unionist voice. Now you could say they're kind of like the Reform of Northern Ireland. A pretty hard line. He used to be a member of the DUP, lost patience with them, went and started his own party. You could say he's like the Nigel Farage of Northern Ireland. And indeed, traditional Unionist voice have done an electoral deal with Reform in Northern Ireland, or that was the deal they did in 2024. Whether that will persist to 2029, who knows? But a hardline Unionist, Jim Allister, so opposed to vaccine passes, as you'd expect. He raised this question in Parliament about indemnity in relation to vaccine harms in December 2020. He was tweeting about that. But in November 2021, he posted this tweet where he was then, like Jim Shannon, happy to state publicly that he was taking the vaccines. John McDonnell hails from the hard left of the Labour Party. He was Jeremy Corbyn's shadow chancellor when Mr Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party. He was in November 2021 talking about his booster on Twitter. Please get your jab as soon as you can, he says, to help us tackle this pandemic. And he also voted yes in that controversial vaccine pass bill in December 2021, which sought to, and successfully did, limit people's freedoms based on their vaccination status. John Trickett, the fourth Member of Parliament we've written to this week, over the age of 65. He's represented a constituency in West Yorkshire since 1996. He was Gordon Brown's PPS, Parliamentary Private Secretary, when Mr Brown was the Prime Minister, so operated at quite a high level of government at one time. Here he is in October 2021 getting his booster, happy to post about it publicly. In July 2021 he put this tweet out, message to constituents: get the vaccine if you can, he said. Finally, Liz Twist, she's been an MP since 2017. She represents a constituency called Blaydon and Consett, which is up near Newcastle in the northeast. In December 2020, she was calling for companies who spread what she refers to as disinformation to be dealt with. Presumably she's talking about social media companies who allowed alternative narratives about vaccines to be promulgated on their platforms. And in February 2021, she was thanking staff for their efforts in rolling out the vaccines. So nothing of her actually getting vaccinated on her social media. But I think it's fair to say she did have faith in the programme at one time and was happy to support it publicly. So those are the 5 MPs over the age of 65 we've written to this week. Just a reminder of why we're doing this. The official guidance from the NHS and therefore from the government is that anybody over the age of 65 should still be getting COVID-19 vaccinations. That was the advice in October during the autumn vaccination campaign. So we'd like to know if these MPs, who are all over the age of 65, are still following that advice. This is the letter that we wrote to them on the 17th of December. We are independent journalists. We are trying to determine how many members of the House of Commons who are aged 65 and over, and therefore entitled to a COVID-19 vaccination in the autumn of 2024, have taken up the offer. If you are willing to take part in our survey, please answer the following questions by return. 1. Have you taken a COVID-19 vaccination booster shot this autumn, i.e. following the rollout of the autumn vaccination campaign that began on the 3rd of October 2024? 2. Are you willing to state publicly that you have done so and endorse the vaccination campaign? 3. Are you willing to recommend to your family, members of the public and constituents that they take up the offer? 4. Are there any other remarks you would like to make? Please reply no later than the end of day on the 31st of December 2024 if you would like your data to be included. Now, they've had a lot longer than that, actually, to reply, and none of them has. They were happy, as we've shown, to talk about it on Twitter back when the vaccines were first being rolled out in 2021. Now they don't want to talk about it at all. And as we said at the beginning, we think that when these people are the ones making the decisions about public health, the question of whether they are putting these products into their own bodies does become a question of public interest. We do feel we're entitled to ask these questions. They are, of course, entitled not to answer them, and you can read into their non-answers what you want. But that brings to the end episode 4, with 20 MPs over the age of 65 asked this question, and the number of positive responses, the number of positive endorsements of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign in its current form is still 0. Now, there are, by our calculations, 53 members of Parliament who are over the age of 65. That's 20 who we've asked. We're going to be back next week with the next 5 on our list. So thanks for watching. Please do keep watching. Please spread the word about what we're doing. We're going to continue to ask of the MPs in Parliament over the age of 65, please, sir, don't you want some more?